He was called a man who was stronger than many future NBA stars. But why didn't a basketball player with such talent ever end up in the strongest league in the world? How did it happen that huge money appeared in his life before his professional contract? How did a single decision deprive him of the chance to become a legend, and then lead to the loss of almost everything? Even decades later, basketball stars continue to speak of Pee Wee Kirkland with immense respect. At the end of this video, you will learn what truly destroyed the career of a man who, in the opinion of many, should have been an NBA star. If, like me, you enjoy looking back at the great NBA legends of past decades, and you're interested in their true stories and little-known facts that are rarely talked about, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support truly helps the channel grow and makes it possible to bring you more videos like this. Thank you. Now, let's continue. Imagine a man whom many called stronger than players already competing in the NBA. A basketball player whose name was spoken with respect by streetball legends and whom opponents preferred to steer clear of. A man of whom it was said for decades that had his life turned out differently, he could well have become one of the brightest stars of his generation. But today, much less is known about him than about those he once confidently defeated. This is the story of Richard Pee Wee Kirkland, a man about whom disputes still do not subside. To some, he was a true basketball genius. To others, a symbol of incredible talent that never made it to the main stage of world basketball. His name never adorned the lists of top NBA players. He collected no championship rings, and he set no loud records in the professional league. And yet, in New York, he was considered a true legend. In those years, there was a special place where reputation was not built by newspaper headlines and television broadcasts. Everything was decided right on the asphalt. If you stepped onto the court and defeated the strongest opponents again and again, the whole city started talking about you. This was precisely how Pee Wee Kirkland's fame grew. His game amazed even those who could no longer be surprised. Incredible speed, filigree ball handling, composure in the most tense moments, and the ability to score from almost any position made him a true celebrity long before the advent of social media and millions of views on the internet. Many who had the chance to see him play with their own eyes confessed years later that Kirkland possessed a talent that could not be measured by statistics. His impact was felt much stronger than newspaper reports could convey. He didn't just win games. He made people come to the courts just to watch a few minutes of his play. Sometimes that was enough for spectators to discuss what they had seen for a long time. His name sounded especially loud in New York, a city where street basketball was almost a separate culture. Here, respect could not be earned by accident. Every match turned into a test of character, and every mistake could cost one's reputation. But Kirkland proved time and again that he was on a completely different level. He was called a player who could control the tempo of a game as if he knew every opponent's move in advance. Over time, the conversations went far beyond the city courts. The basketball world increasingly wondered when this incredible talent would end up in the NBA. The answer seemed obvious. The young guard possessed everything professional clubs were looking for: charisma, confidence, exceptional technique, immense popularity among players and fans. Many were convinced that the transition to the strongest league in the world was only a matter of time. But something happened that almost no one expected. While some future stars built their professional careers step by step, Pee Wee Kirkland's name was increasingly associated not with basketball arenas, but with the streets of New York. Instead of big contracts, entirely different stories began to swirl around him. Many decided he simply had bad luck. Some said circumstances were to blame. Others were sure his talent had been overestimated. However, the truth was much more complex and much more dramatic than it seemed at first glance. After all, his talent was so great that even the country's best players openly acknowledged his exceptional level. And then the main question arises. How did a man whom many considered a future NBA star never take that final step to the top? New York in the early 60s lived to its own rhythm. Here, every neighborhood seemed to exist by its own rules, and street basketball courts became the place where future legends were born. It was in this atmosphere that Richard Kirkland grew up. As a child, he understood a simple thing. Respect cannot be gained with words. You have to earn it with your game. The ball almost never left his hands. Free time turned into endless hours of training without coaches or comfortable gymnasiums. Only concrete, metal rims, and the desire to become better than everyone who stepped onto the court. It very quickly became clear that those around him were dealing with an unusual player. While his peers were trying to master the basics, Kirkland already felt the game as if he had spent his whole life on the hardwood. His ball handling was particularly impressive. He easily changed directions, accelerated instantly, found unexpected solutions, and made defenders lose their balance. It seemed as though the ball was literally glued to his hands. Any careless move by an opponent turned into an opportunity for a rapid drive or an accurate shot. But Kirkland's main weapon was not technique in itself. He possessed a rare ability to read the game a few seconds ahead. While others reacted to what was happening, he was already making his next move. That is why many experienced players said that defending against him was incredibly difficult. He constantly forced opponents to make mistakes, and it looked so effortless, as if everything was happening by itself. Gradually, rumors about the young talent began to spread throughout New York. Not only ordinary spectators came to matches featuring him, but also famous basketball players who wanted to see for themselves the man the whole city was talking about. In an era when the internet and instantly flying video clips did not exist, such fame was a true rarity. It only arose when the level of play truly amazed everyone nearby. Kirkland gained special fame on the legendary Rucker Park court. For most players, performing there was already considered a great honor. But he didn't just step onto the hardwood. He turned every game into a real show. His passes thrilled the stands, his drives to the basket made spectators jump from their seats, and his confidence in crucial moments made him even more dangerous. Over time, the names of those who later became known to the entire basketball world began to sound alongside his. Many acknowledged that Kirkland was capable of playing on par with the strongest athletes of his generation, and sometimes surpassing them. Among players, the opinion gradually formed that playing him one-on-one was one of the most difficult tests imaginable on a street court. That was why an almost mythical reputation grew around him. Some talked about matches in which he effortlessly outplayed future professionals. Others claimed they had seen performances after which the crowd lingered for a long time, discussing every move on the court. Of course, over time, some stories became more like legends than documented facts. But one thing remained undisputed. The name Pee Wee Kirkland became a symbol of basketball New York. It seemed the next step was absolutely obvious. A player with that level of skill simply had to end up among the country's best basketball players. Many were sure that very soon a professional career, nationwide fame, and the opportunity to prove his talent at the highest level awaited him. Kintu exactly at the moment when the road to big basketball seemed open, an entirely different world appeared next to Kirkland. A world where fast money, loud acquaintances, and dangerous decisions could change a human destiny much faster than any successful season on a basketball court. In the late 60s, New York was going through difficult times. Many neighborhoods lived by their own laws, and for young people growing up on city streets, temptations were no less than opportunities. Basketball could have become the road to a new life, but another path always existed nearby. A much faster and, as it seemed to many, much more profitable one. Pee Wee Kirkland found himself at precisely this dangerous crossroads. While some dreamed of signing a professional contract one day, he already saw people around him earning sums in a single evening that most athletes could only dream of. For a young man who grew up far from luxury, such a life looked quite real. And the more famous his name became on the basketball courts, the more attention representatives of an entirely different world showed him. Over time, basketball ceased to be the sole source of his ambitions. Kirkland increasingly mingled with people connected to underground gambling and large money stakes. His natural confidence, ability to make quick decisions, and authority on the streets opened doors that remained closed to most. According to Kirkland's own recollections, the money began coming in so fast that familiar notions of its value gradually disappeared. He recounted that he easily spent huge amounts on expensive clothes, cars, and a luxury lifestyle. All of this created a feeling of complete freedom. It seemed that success had already been achieved, even if it came completely outside of professional sports. This turned out to be one of the biggest traps. Most young players perceived the NBA as the summit that needed to be reached over years, overcoming competition and constantly proving their worth. Kirkland already felt like a man who lacked nothing. When money lands in your hands long before your main dream is fulfilled, the dream itself begins to gradually lose its value. At the same time, his love for basketball didn't disappear anywhere. He continued to step onto the courts, gathered crowds of spectators, and still demonstrated the highest level of play. But now, basketball became just one part of his life, while entirely different matters took up more and more time. Such a combination could not continue indefinitely. The deeper he plunged into the world of high stakes and criminal acquaintances, the further he drifted from professional sports. Each new decision imperceptibly distanced him from the career that many considered virtually inevitable. The most surprising thing was that those around him continued to see a future star in him. People spoke not of whether Kirkland could make it to the NBA, but only of when exactly it would happen. His talent was still obvious. His game still caused admiration. It seemed all he had to do was wish it, and the door to professional basketball would open. But life was already moving according to an entirely different script. Very soon, a choice appeared before Pee Wee Kirkland that determined his entire future destiny. On one hand was the opportunity to become world famous thanks to his talent. On the other, huge money, influence, and a sense of power that could be acquired much faster. It was then that he made a move whose consequences would haunt him for many years. In those years, a reputation had already formed around Pee Wee Kirkland as a man capable of playing at the level of the best guards of his generation. His name sounded so loud that talk of a professional career arose again and again. Many were convinced, if a player dominated the most famous street courts of New York to that extent, the question of his making the NBA was merely a formality. But reality turned out to be much more complex. Unlike many young basketball players, Kirkland did not build his entire life around professional sports. While others tried to impress coaches, went through tryouts, and patiently moved toward their goal, he was already living by entirely different rules. Basketball brought him fame, while the street brought a sense of power and huge money. And gradually, the latter began to dictate his decisions. Later, Kirkland admitted more than once that during that period, the sums passing through his hands seemed unbelievable. He recounted that in a short time he could earn more than many professional athletes received over a long period. In his circle, luxury cars, expensive suits, and large monetary deals were perceived as a normal part of life. Against this background, the prospect of grinding away for years to break into the professional league no longer looked so attractive. At the same time, his talent didn't vanish. Every time Kirkland stepped onto the court, he proved once again why he was considered a special player. His game continued to delight spectators, and stories of his matches were passed far beyond New York. That is why decades later, many famous basketball players recalled him with sincere respect. They did not claim he would necessarily have become an NBA superstar, but almost all agreed on one thing: his natural talent was completely exceptional. That is why his story still evokes so many emotions. It is rare to find people who possessed such capabilities but failed to realize them fully. The story of Pee Wee Kirkland is not a tale about a loser or a story of a man who simply had bad luck. It is a story of choice. Every time new opportunities opened up before him, an easier but much more dangerous path appeared nearby. It was precisely this choice that distanced him from the NBA, stronger than any injuries or lack of skill. Today, his name remains a symbol of both incredible talent and a massive missed opportunity. Perhaps that is why, decades later, people continue to talk about him. After all, sometimes the greatest stories are born not from won titles, but from questions to which it is no longer possible to get an answer. And if you are interested in the destinies of other NBA legends, be sure to watch the next videos on our channel. Links to them are already appearing on the screen.